All right, ready for a deep dive into a classic.
Sounds good.
Today, we're tackling Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and I know what you might be thinking.
What's that?
What does a military book from like 2,500 years ago have to do with us today?
Right.
But trust me, this book, it's got insights that go way beyond the battlefield.
I could see that.
We're going to uncover how the art of war, it can actually be like your secret weapon for success.
The secret weapon, huh? I like it.
Yeah, whether it's in your career, your relationships, or even just navigating daily life.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's all about gaining an advantage, right?
It's fascinating how a book about, ancient warfare can still be so practical.
I know. Sun Tzu, he was a master strategist, and his principles, they're all about getting that edge no matter what you're dealing with.
Exactly. That's what makes it so timeless.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first thing that really hit me when I started reading, it was Sun Tzu's focus on planning and preparation. He's got this famous quote, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state."
Right. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin.
He's not messing around, is he? He's really driving home this point that being prepared, it's not just like a good idea, it's essential for success and avoiding those nasty risks we all want to avoid.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting is how this all applies to, like, our modern world.
I know, right?
Think about a product launch. Imagine you're leading this launch. You wouldn't just, announce this product to the world without first, like, really researching what customers need, right?
No way.
You wouldn't just launch without analyzing, like, all your competitors and
No.
having a really solid, like, go-to-market strategy, would you?
Of course not.
No. So that kind of meticulous planning, that's pure Sun Tzu right there in action.
It's like that saying, failing to plan is planning to fail, but with like much higher stakes.
Way higher.
So thorough preparation is key. But Sun Tzu doesn't stop there. He takes it a step further, and he emphasizes knowing not just yourself, but also your opponent.
The famous know thyself, know thy enemy principle.
I was going to say that. We've all heard it, but what does it actually mean when you get down to it?
Right. In a practical sense.
Yeah.
So Sun Tzu, he believed that really understanding your own, like, strengths and your weaknesses, but also those of your opponent.
Right.
That's key for making, those good decisions and ultimately gaining that advantage.
An opponent, it doesn't have to mean like you're literally at war with someone, right?
No, not at all.
It could be a competitor in business, a tough situation you're facing, even a bad habit you're trying to break.
Exactly. It's about understanding the whole landscape, where you're operating. Let's say, for example, you're going into a negotiation.
Ooh, good example.
If you really know your goals, you know your limits,
Yeah.
but you also have this deep understanding of the other side, their position, what they want.
Right.
You're in a much stronger position to make a deal, reach an agreement that actually works for everyone.
It's like having a roadmap, before you even start your journey.
Exactly.
You know the terrain, the potential roadblocks. You can like anticipate the best route to get to your destination.
Prepare.
And that actually ties into another key principle from the art of war, which is the power of flexibility.
Oh, yeah. Flexibility is key.
Sun Tzu, he wrote, "Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness."
Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness.
Whoa. He wasn't saying to like literally disappear, was he?
No, not literally. But he was getting at, you need to be able to adapt.
Oh, I see.
You can't be so rigid in your plans that you can't change when things change.
Right.
Because the world's constantly changing, and if you can't flow with it, you're going to get swept away.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And think about those companies, the ones that, like, thrived during those crazy, unexpected disruptions.
I know what you're going to say, like a global pandemic, right?
Yeah, exactly. A global pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they were able to pivot their whole business models, embrace new tech, find new ways to connect with customers. They really embodied that formlessness Sun Tzu talked about.
Oh, interesting.
They weren't afraid to change when things demanded it.
It's amazing how these ancient principles are still so spot on. I mean, we're not on battlefields, but we're navigating a world that's constantly shifting.
All the time.
In business, in our personal lives, globally.
Absolutely. And speaking of shifting landscapes, Sun Tzu also had some interesting things to say about deception and surprise. He even went so far as to say that all warfare is based on deception.
Whoa, hold on. Before we start picturing like elaborate spy missions, let's unpack that a little.
Right. I know deception at first glance, it sounds a little
shady.
Yeah, a little shady.
Yeah.
But Sun Tzu, he wasn't advocating for, doing anything unethical. What he was really emphasizing was the strategic importance of, well, surprise. That element of the unexpected. Think of it like this. It's not about lying or cheating. It's about being strategic. It's about holding back certain info or presenting yourself in a way that gives you that competitive edge.
So it's more about outsmarting your opponent through clever tactics.
Exactly.
Like, a marketing campaign that takes everyone by surprise, or a negotiation where you strategically reveal info at just the right moment.
Exactly. And think about how this even applies to personal growth, right? Sometimes the best way to deceive your own limiting beliefs
Ooh, I like that.
is to surprise yourself. Take on a challenge you thought you couldn't handle. Or master a skill you thought was out of reach.
So deception, in Sun Tzu's context, it's about strategy, cleverness to your advantage, but without being dishonest.
Precisely. And remember, Sun Tzu's ultimate goal was always victory, but with the least amount of conflict possible. And this brings us to another big principle. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle.
So basically avoid conflict altogether if you can.
That's the dream.
I can get behind that.
It's the ideal scenario, right?
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, he was a big believer in peaceful resolutions, whenever possible.
Okay.
Whether through negotiation or forming these strategic alliances.
I see.
Or finding those win-win solutions that are good for everybody involved.
It's like when you have two companies, and instead of going head-to-head, they decide to team up.
Exactly.
They might end up reaching more people, developing awesome new products together.
Right.
And they probably end up more successful than if they just, fought it out.
Absolutely. That's smart strategy. And that requires a different kind of leadership, right?
Definitely.
One that values things like diplomacy, understanding, finding common ground.
Sun Tzu's got so much wisdom for leaders. He also had some very sharp things to say about managing resources. He said, "A skilled commander seeks victory from the situation and does not demand it of his men."
Great quote.
I'm getting from that it's not about squeezing every last drop out of your people or your resources, but rather...
Hey, it's about being resourceful, right? It's about making the most of what you've got. Sun Tzu understood that a true leader empowers their team and uses resources wisely to get the best possible outcome.
And in our world today, that's more important than ever. We're all juggling so many things, tight deadlines, big goals.
All the time.
Being able to manage your time, energy, resources, that's essential for staying ahead, reaching those goals.
Totally.
Whether that's in your career, your life, even just your everyday stuff.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Right, definitely. And that actually connects with another one of Sun Tzu's teachings, which is all about timing.
Yeah.
Knowing when to act. He had that famous line, "He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will be victorious."
It's not just about being ready and adaptable. It's about that timing.
Timing is everything, isn't it?
It really is. Sometimes the best strategy is to wait. Observe carefully, and then when the time's right, you strike.
It's like patience is a virtue, right?
Exactly.
Take investing, for example. A good investor knows that rushing into something can be a disaster. Sometimes the best results come from being patient, waiting for that perfect opportunity,
Totally.
and then acting decisively.
Decisively, yeah. Or even in personal relationships, right? Sometimes it's better to pause, listen, let things unfold before you react.
Good point.
Knowing when to act and when to hold back, that's a crucial skill, especially when dealing with people.
Absolutely. Speaking of dealing with people, Sun Tzu had some incredibly smart things to say about leadership. He really believed that true leadership is about inspiring your team by what you do, not just what you say. One of his best quotes is, "A leader leads by example, not by force."
Yeah, that's a powerful one. It's not about, yelling or forcing people to do things. It's about setting the standard, inspiring trust, earning respect through how you conduct yourself.
Think about those leaders that you really admire, the ones who've achieved amazing things. They probably don't just bark orders. They're right there with their teams working alongside them.
Right.
They show integrity, humility, and they inspire others to reach their full potential.
They lead the way.
They do. Sun Tzu, he knew that a true leader, they build unity and discipline, not through fear,
No.
but through purpose and belief in the mission.
Shared goals, that's what matters.
It's not just about being the boss. It's about inspiring people to want to follow you.
Exactly.
And that's a valuable lesson, whether you're leading a team at work, in your community, even just setting an example for your family and friends.
Absolutely. Leadership is everywhere.
And then Sun Tzu also talked about turning weaknesses into strengths. He suggested something pretty bold, actually. He said, appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected.
Wow. So it's not just about knowing your weaknesses, it's about using them to your advantage.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
That's a fascinating concept.
It is.
It's about being strategic, being unpredictable. Imagine a small company, right? Maybe they don't have all the resources of those big corporations, but they can be nimble, adaptable, and much faster to change with the market. That agility becomes their strength.
So they're taking what could be seen as a weakness, like their size,
Right.
and making it their advantage.
Exactly. It's almost like a judo move, using your opponent's weight against them.
It's a great way to put it. And that principle, it applies to personal growth, too. We all have areas where we're less confident or skilled, but instead of letting that stop us, Sun Tzu would say, how can I use this to my advantage? Can I find a unique approach?
Can I work around it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's about resourcefulness, strategic thinking, not being afraid to go against the grain. And this idea of using weakness as strength, it actually connects with that idea of deception we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Oh, right. Deception. Where it's not about being dishonest, it's about using strategy and smarts to gain the upper hand. But how does this tie into turning weakness into strength?
Well, think about it. It's about using strategy, maybe a little misdirection, to make your opponent underestimate you. If they think you're weak in one area,
If you let their guard down.
exactly, and then you surprise them with your strength in another area they didn't expect.
It's like a magician with their tricks. They lead your attention one way while they're doing something else entirely.
That's a perfect analogy. You're creating a perception that helps your strategy. It's not lying or cheating. It's using your wit and intelligence to outmaneuver the competition.
This is so insightful. We've talked about preparation, adaptability, leadership, turning those weaknesses into strengths. These are all powerful tools. But I think there's one more big teaching in the art of war that really brings it all together.
You're talking about unity.
You got it. Sun Tzu was a big believer in the idea that a strong, united team, that's essential for winning. He knew that real strength comes from more than just individual talent. It comes from the power of a group working together.
Absolutely. A group working towards a shared goal.
It's like that saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A team that's united, motivated, working in sync.
They can do incredible things.
They really can.
And this idea of unity, it's so closely tied to leadership. Remember what Sun Tzu said, a leader leads by example, not by force.
It's all coming together now.
He understood that real leadership, it's not about barking orders or forcing obedience. It's about inspiring your team, creating a feeling of camaraderie, and building an environment where everyone feels like they matter, they're motivated.
They feel valued.
Yes, and they're empowered to contribute their best.
Think about those super successful teams like a championship sports team or a company that really changed the game. They all have something in common. They had strong leaders who built a culture of unity and collaboration. Everyone felt valued, motivated, ready to give their best.
And it's not just about those external goals. It's about what's happening inside the team. When people feel like they're part of something bigger,
Yeah.
when they feel supported by their teammates,
Respected.
they're more engaged, more productive, more committed to the success of the whole group.
It's amazing how these ideas written centuries ago are still so relevant. We're not on battlefields, but we are navigating those complex landscapes in our careers, our relationships, even our personal growth.
It's like Sun Tzu had this roadmap for us all along.
He really did. And the art of war, it gives us this framework to approach challenges with a strategic mindset. It's about knowing the playing field, knowing yourself, knowing your opponent.
Being adaptable.
Being resourceful, being decisive.
This is just the beginning of our deep dive into the art of war.
I know, it feels like we've already uncovered so much.
And we've got even more to explore. We'll be right back to delve even deeper into the brilliance of Sun Tzu, so stay with us. Welcome back to our deep dive into the art of war.
It's been a fascinating journey so far.
It really has, and we've been exploring all this wisdom from Sun Tzu.
Right.
And one of the most interesting parts for me is this idea of turning a weakness into a strength.
It's mind-bending.
It really is. It's this concept that's been, used by leaders and strategists for centuries.
I can see why.
And it's so powerful. It's not just about knowing your weaknesses. It's about actually, Sun Tzu says we should use them to our advantage. He even says, appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected.
It's like he's encouraging us to be unpredictable, use those weaknesses almost like a smokescreen
A smoke screen, yeah.
for our real moves.
Exactly. It's understanding that what looks like a weakness on the
I suppose,
surface
right.
can actually be a strength if you know how to use it right.
How to leverage it.
Yes. Think about business, for instance.
Right.
You got a small startup. They may not have all those resources of a huge company,
Right.
but they can be faster, more adaptable. They can respond to changes in the market so much quicker. That agility, that becomes their secret weapon.
So they're taking that perceived weakness, like their size, their resources, and they flip it, turn it into a competitive edge.
Exactly. It's almost like in judo, using your opponent's weight against them.
It really is. And this principle, it doesn't just apply to business, it applies to us personally too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all have areas where, maybe we're not as confident, not as skilled,
We all have the...
but instead of letting those things hold us back, Sun Tzu would say, how can I use this? Can I turn this into something unique? Can I find a workaround?
So it's about embracing those imperfections and finding those creative ways to use them to our advantage.
Yeah, working with what you've got.
It's like that phrase, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Resourcefulness, strategic thinking, and not being afraid to challenge those, traditional ways of thinking.
I like that. And this idea of using weakness as strength, it connects back to that concept of deception we were talking about before,
Oh, good point.
where it's not about dishonesty.
Right.
It's about using strategy, smarts, to gain that advantage.
Yep.
But how does that connect to turning weakness into strength?
Well, it's almost like using strategy, maybe even a little bit of misdirection,
Oh, okay.
to make your opponent underestimate you. So they see you as weak in one area.
And that's where they get tricked.
Exactly. And you can then surprise them with your strength in a whole other area they didn't even see coming.
It's like a magic trick almost. The magician, they direct your attention one way while they're secretly doing something else.
Yes. You're creating a perception that works for your strategy. It's not about lying or cheating. It's about outsmarting being clever to outmaneuver your opponent.
Wow, that's such a powerful way to think about it. We've talked about preparation and being adaptable and leadership and turning those weaknesses into strengths. These are all like amazing tools for achieving success, but I think there's one more key idea in the art of war that really ties it all together.
You're talking about unity, right?
Exactly. Sun Tzu, he knew that a strong, united team is essential. Real strength doesn't just come from individual ability, it comes from the power of the group working together.
Towards that common goal, that shared purpose.
Right. It's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A team that's united, motivated, in sync, they can accomplish amazing things.
They really can. And this idea of unity, it's so tied to leadership. Remember that quote, a leader leads by example, not by force.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
Sun Tzu knew that true leadership, it's not about commanding or demanding.
Oh.
It's about inspiring people, building that sense of, we're all in this together, that camaraderie.
Camaraderie, I like that.
Yeah, and creating an environment where everyone feels valued, motivated, ready to give their all.
They feel empowered.
Yes. Think about the best teams in history, whether it's in sports or business, the ones who really changed the game. What do they all have in common?
I bet they had strong leaders, right? Leaders who knew how to create that culture of unity and collaboration.
Exactly. They understood that their job wasn't just to tell people what to do. It was to inspire them, empower them to achieve great things together.
It's not just about winning, it's about how you get there. That journey together, Sun Tzu would say, it's about working together, supporting each other, building that winning culture.
Absolutely. And that applies to, any group of people, whether it's a team at work, a family, a group of friends working on a project. When people feel like they're part of a team, they're supported, they're respected,
Yeah.
they're going to be more engaged, productive, committed to the success of the whole group.
That's so important, especially these days when there's so much emphasis on individual achievement, competition. Sun Tzu reminds us that true strength, lasting success, those come from working together.
From collaborating, achieving something bigger than ourselves. He understood that victory, it's not just about beating someone else. It's about achieving that shared goal. And that takes everyone working together.
We've covered so much in this episode, the importance of preparation, adaptability, leadership, that idea of turning weaknesses into strengths.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these principles from centuries ago are still so applicable today.
They really are. It's a testament to the wisdom in Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
We've only just scratched the surface, but I hope this deep dive has inspired you to maybe explore the art of war a bit more on your own.
I think it has. We'll be back in just a moment to continue our exploration of the art of war, so stick around. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the art of war.
I know, it's flown by, hasn't it?
It has. It's been an amazing journey. We've been talking about this classic work, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and uncovering all this wisdom that we can use in our lives today. It's incredible how a book about, well, war, written so long ago, can still feel so relevant today.
I know. I think it really speaks to the power of understanding human nature and, strategy. Those things, they don't really change that much over time, do they?
They really don't. And we've been talking about these key principles from the book, like preparation, being adaptable, leadership.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing I think we need to talk about, and that's this idea of understanding your environment.
Oh, that's a good one. It's crucial.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't just go charging into battle without knowing the lay of the land, right?
Exactly. You need to know the terrain, the weather, any obstacle.
Everything that could affect the outcome.
And Sun Tzu, he really emphasized that. He believed that truly understanding your surroundings,
That's your environment.
yes, could give you a major advantage, whatever kind of battle you're facing.
So how does that translate to what we deal with in our modern world? We're not exactly like scouting out battlefields.
Well, think about it in the business world, for example. Understanding your environment means knowing the market, who you're competing with, what your customers want,
Oh, yeah.
even the bigger picture, like the economy, politics, all of that. It's about gathering info, analyzing trends, knowing what's coming.
So it's not just knowing the facts, but understanding those little details, the shifts, the things that are shaping how things work.
Precisely. And Sun Tzu believed that someone who's really strategic, a true leader, they can see beyond the surface. They see those hidden opportunities, those threats that other people miss.
It's like that saying, can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day we miss the bigger picture.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And that's where Sun Tzu's wisdom is so valuable. He's telling us to take a step back, observe, really listen, and understand what's shaping the world around us.
So it's not just about reacting to things as they happen, but anticipating them, planning for them, putting yourself in a position to succeed.
Exactly. Be proactive, not reactive. Use that knowledge of your environment to make smart decisions, decisions that align with your goals.
It's like a chess player, thinking several moves ahead, anticipating what the opponent might do, planning their strategy.
Perfect analogy. Sun Tzu would love that. He saw strategy as a game of intelligence and foresight. The winner, they're usually the one who can outmaneuver their opponent. They're thinking ahead, always one step ahead.
This has been incredible, such a journey into the wisdom of the art of war. As we wrap up, is there one key takeaway you hope people listening will remember?
I think the biggest thing is to really develop that strategic mindset. Don't just let life happen to you. Shape it. Take the time to understand yourself, your environment, the opportunities, the challenges that are out there. Then with good planning, good execution, you can achieve victories, big and small, in all areas of your life.
That's such great advice. The art of war, it really is a treasure chest of wisdom that we can all use, whether it's in our careers, our relationships, just trying to get the most out of life.
And don't forget what Sun Tzu said, every battle is won before it is fought. So go out there, think strategically, understand yourself and the world, and go conquer those challenges.
That's it for our deep dive into the art of war. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of ancient strategy and its application to our lives today. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep conquering.